Guys, hello, welcome. Before we even get into the video, I want to address the big elephant in the room. You guys are probably wondering how I got my hands on a card. And no, I didn't go to eBay and spend $10,000 on this card. Unless you've been living under a rock, we all know what a disastrous launch the 3000 series has been because of availability. Well, right away, on September 24th at 9 a.m. approximately, I signed up for the auto notification of the availability of this card. And then about a week or so after launch, EVGA launched a queue system. So with that queue system, I'd already signed up on the 24th. I was already enrolled. To be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to come anytime this year, but they sent me an email on October 16th saying you have 8 hours from the time this email is sent to make your purchase. So for those like me who have signed up through EVGA, and if you have already signed up and you're still waiting to be notified, maybe that can give you an idea of a timeline when you might receive your card. So again, I signed up on September 24th at 9 a.m. They notified me on October 16th at 8 p.m. Alright guys, this video will be two parts. First part is going to be my PC build. We'll go over all the hardware. And then the second part, we have some benchmarks. Alright guys, let's start with the case. I went with the Master Case H500P Mesh ARGB. The original model of this did not have a mesh front. It was a hard case. Gamers Nexus did a review on it and it bombed. It was terrible. So they actually listened and they redesigned the case and they put the mesh cover on the front there. Definitely helps out with the airflow. And as you can see there, it's got the dual 200mm ARGB fans. These fans are massive and I'm getting a lot of airflow through the case. Overall, this is a great case. I looked at numerous cases. I had a lot of choices to choose from. This was a good price. Yes, it is an older case, but I was looking for one specifically for airflow. And of course, it had to fit the 3090, which being a mid-tower case, it's got plenty of room. Next is my power supply. I went with the EVGA Supernova. This is an 80 plus platinum rated. It is 1000 watts, fully modular, and it has a 10-year warranty, outstanding warranty. On their website, they do recommend a minimum of 850 watts for the 3090, so 1000 is more than enough. And actually during my benchmarks, I did peak at 480 watts on just the graphics card, and it ran beautiful. Alright guys, let's get into the motherboard. As you can tell by the title, I had this build specifically ready for PCIe 4.0, which is in the 3090 and which is in my storage, as you will see. At the time of having this computer built, Intel did not have any motherboards that supported PCIe 4.0. So as you can see here, I went with the ROG Crosshair, that is 8 Hero. It's got the PCIe 4.0, great board. And as I was saying, I went with the AMD Ryzen 3950X. Now, I have not overclocked this, but it is consistently running at 16 cores, 32 threads, about 4.3 gigahertz. Now, to cool my CPU, I went with the biggest cooler that my case would support, and that is the 360mm. That is the iQOO H150i RGB Pro XT liquid cooler. Now, I have rendered some videos in Adobe on this PC. It barely spikes above 63, 64 degrees under 100% load. This cooler keeps the 3950X extra chilly. Now for my storage, I believe it's pronounced Sabrent. I went with the NVMe PCIe 4.0 M.2 drives. I have a 1TB and a 4TB. These are the maximum performance. These have only been out, I think, since July. These are some of the fastest on the market. You have read speeds of 4,900 megabytes per second and write speeds of 3,500 megabytes per second. Now this can peak at 82 degrees Celsius under load. They even say on their website that they recommend the heatsink. It's right here in the picture. I did purchase one of those. That brings it down to 71. So keeping it at that operating temperature, it says that you should get the maximum performance rating consistently. Now I do have the 1TB for my main operating system and all my programs. I did go with the big 4TB. I think it was like $800, but I went with that because all my games are going to go on there. And when I'm recording my gameplay and running 4K, I need a lot of storage. So I think as long as I have this PC, I don't have to worry about running out of space. Alright guys, last is the memory. I went with 64 gigabytes of 3600 megahertz. This is the Vengeance RGB Pro. Probably a little overkill on the 64 gigabytes, but the main emphasis on this computer is gaming. Second is editing, running through Adobe. I'm glad I went with the 64 gigabytes. Alright guys, let's get to the heart and the powerhouse of the build. That is the brand new EVGA FTW3 Ultra. Now with tax and shipping and everything, this was $1,951. I worked my ass off at my job and saved up my money. To me, it was well worth the price. Design-wise, it's been getting a lot of hate online for the red trim on there. Doesn't bother me too much, but overall, I think it's a very sexy looking card. Now, I did have an EVGA FTW3 Ultra 2080 Ti. Now, if you actually look right here, the 2080 Ti is bigger. Not only is it bigger, it is thicker. And when it came to weight, the 3090 did feel a little heavier. But when it comes to taking up room in the PC case, it is quite a bit bigger. And then right there, you can see the thickness. Now, EVGA has been boasting a better cooler design for the 3090. So I think it's because the 3090, just has a better cooler design. They were able to make it a little more compact, didn't need as big of a heatsink. Just overall, better performance. Now my 2080 Ti did run 2 8-pin connectors. This needed 3. So luckily with my new PC, I had plenty of cables and it didn't take long to hook up. You can see with everything on, especially that 3090, I really like the RGB on it. Looks beautiful, it's very smooth, very clean looking, and it matches my case. Alright guys, that is pretty much the hardware build. If you would like to know specifics like pricing and availability on all the components, I do have a PC part picker list that you can find in the description right below. So that will end part 1. Let's get into part 2. This is going to be the benchmarks. Let's see how it performs. Alright guys, first benchmark, I just have the one for the CPU. This is the Cinebench R20. Again, I'm running the 3950X. And you can see here that I did break the 9000 when I first hooked it up. And this one right here, this score, I get about a 88,900 score. But still overall, excellent performance by the CPU, and that massive 360mm cooler keeps it icy cold. Alright, now let's get into the benchmarks for the 3090. Now to overclock the 3090, I do use the EVGA Precision X1. Now you can find on the EVGA forums a BIOS update for the 3090 FTW3 Ultra. This update is going to make it more compatible with the card, and plus you'll be able to push your power up to 500 watts. In my testing, the max peak I had was 480 watts. I averaged about 430. Overclocking this, I put the sliders for the power, GPU temp, and the GPU temperature all the way to max. I spent a few hours overclocking. I got plus 130 on the core clock, and I got plus 1000 on the memory clock. Now under the benchmark and stress test, I consistently stayed about 70 degrees. In my peak core clock, I did hit 2160. I probably could have pushed this a little higher, but I'm very happy with the scores and performance, so I'm probably going to keep it at this. I might mess with it more later, but I'm very happy with where it's at right now. Alright guys, let's get into the benchmarks for the 3090. So you can see my first benchmark here. This is for the Heaven Benchmark 4.0. Average frames per second is 77.7 with a score of 1,956. You can see my settings. That is for 4K. It's a custom preset of Ultra, Tessellation, Extreme. Next we got Port Royal. This gives me a score of 12,845. As you can see on the graph there, that puts me better than 95% of all results. When I check the top results, they're all SLI 3090s. For a card that is so short on availability, I was surprised at how many are running SLIs. But overall, a very good score. Next we got Time Spy. This is a score of 18,109. You can see that's better than 99% of all results. Now we move from Time Spy to Time Spy Extreme. This is DX12 for 4K. I got a score of 9,870, which puts me at the top 3%. And the next benchmark we got is the Superposition. This is the 4K optimized. I got a score of 17,204 with an average frame per second of 128.68. Very happy with this. Guys, this being a new computer, me being so busy with moving and work and everything, I only have a couple games installed. First, we'll start with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In 4K with all the settings cranked to max, I averaged 68 frames per second, maxed out at 161. Next, we got Tom Clancy's The Division 2. At 4K max settings, you can see the 3090 has no problem breaking 100 frames per second. Alright guys, and last one, this is kind of for shits and giggles. I've been playing Genshin Impact for about a week now. I've actually fallen in love with this game. But one thing that's kind of funny, in the game you can only go to 60 frames per second, so that's the max. But I forgot about that, so when I booted up the game to do a benchmark on it, I broke 3,000 frames per second while I was loading into the menu. So just kind of funny, I thought I'd point that out. Alright guys, we are going to end the video there. I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers for all your love and support. I broke 1,000 subscribers a few months ago. Totally awesome milestone for me. Now if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I post nothing but 4K ultra setting gameplay. And on a quick side note, my new schedule at work, I'm only working Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 12-hour shifts. That's 36 hours. I'll still be a full-time employee, but I get 4 days off a week now. So I'm going to have a lot more time to concentrate what I'm passionate about and what I love, and that is working on this channel. Starting with Watch Dogs Legion, guys, we got about 6-7 games. I mean, probably more. I'd have to double check throughout the end of the year. Gonna have a lot of exciting content uploaded, and it will all be powered by the new 3090 card. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, hit the like button. Say hi in the comments for me. I'd love to hear from you. But until then, see you in the next video.